Hey DecoNetwork members, Business Development Manager Zach Dewars here at American Print on Demand with Rob Super. How's it going, Rob?
Howdy, we're doing great. Thanks for coming by.
What are we looking at here?
So this is another technology and application we're using. Unlike the cut and sew piece, this is called all over print. So we're not actually cutting out pieces and sewing it together. So what we're actually looking at here is a pre-made blank. This is actually a Super Sublimation branded blank. It's known for being able to lay flat in our heat press. And the reason we want to do that is because we're actually applying our dye sub graphic on top of the pre-made shirt and then transferring the ink to a gas and into the finished product. And so the necessity of laying flat prevents us from getting voids. I'm sure anyone that's familiar with this have seen the gaps, and that's where it's the absence of the ink making contact with the fabric. So by getting a product to lay flat into an all over print flat press, we're able to achieve a very great quality that doesn't have the absence of the in the arm pockets and things like that. So the technique for this, what we're going to do is we're going to take a pre-printed graphic to scale with our buffer. So it's kind of hard to center the design perfectly because we're doing this blind, right? We're taking a piece of printed dye sub paper and applying it over top of this and then pushing it in and running our heat cycle. We're at 400 degrees for about a minute. So what we do is we add a buffer, so we have a bleed area. So every design we do for this type of technology, we have a little bit of a bleed over, and that gives us some play. So when we demonstrate this, what you're going to see is the piece of fabric go over, we do our alignments, and then we go in and close with heat and pressure for roughly a minute. At 400 degrees, the finished product will come out, we'll peel the paper off, and then that design will be permanently ingrained in the fabric of this product.
Again, like you said, it's all over dye sublimation printing. So dye sublimation being we're going from a solid to a gas, back to a solid without ever becoming a liquid. If you've ever sublimated mugs or photo panels, it's the same technology, but we're doing it on a fabric, and that fabric has to be, what, 100% polyester?
It doesn't have to be 100% polyester, but any content outside of polyester is typically going to wash out or fade. So this could be a blend. We could be, let's just say, a 90-10. That 10% that isn't the polyester typically is going to fade. So it's going to be not quite as vibrant. It might wash out a little bit. The higher blends, let's just say a 60-40, you're going to have a 40% fade on this product, which, in some applications is desirable, but typically we'll want to see a very high polyester content on this product. That way we get the most vibrant design and finished luster that we can.
Cool. All right, guys, we're going to do an all over print. Rob doesn't trust himself. He's a lot like me. I don't touch a product because I am a terrible printer at this point. I did it for a few years, and then you lose your touch once you stop doing it. So he's going to line the transfer sheet over the shirt. Like Rob said earlier, it's kind of hard to see. It's not a very transparent piece of paper. It's not like PET film that we are using with DTF. Thank you. So what, Rob? We're at 400 degrees for a minute?
400 degrees for a minute. Yep, go ahead and hit the magic button.
Using
so we're
a nice
applying our
big
pressure,
DecoNetwork press.
A medium weight pressure on this. And that's going to help the ink transfer into the fabric.
How much PSI?
Roughly 60.
Okay, yeah, because dye sublimation, it needs a lot of pressure to push that ink into the fabric.
Yeah, and it definitely depends on the substrate too. Some more sheer fabrics don't need as much pressure. Heavier weight fabrics sometimes do. With the all over print, we typically see a little more pressure on that just to avoid any creases and folds in the fabric. We try to essentially iron them out of the product.
And it's when a lot of people think about transfers, think, is it a hot peel, is it a cold peel? It's really a no peel, right? I mean, it's not really sticking to the fabric. It's just, I'm going to pull that paper off.
Yeah, if you're using a high-tack paper, you have a little bit of stickiness, but that's not the actual transfer that's sticking. It's tacking the paper, and yes, that got a little rise out of you there.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I've been around heat presses, not too many 40 by 60 inch ones.
There you go.
That is so cool. It's dyed the entire fabric. It's called all over because it has printed the design all over the shirt.
There's
really
no curing process or anything like that. Once it goes through the heat cycle at a minute, it's ready to go.
Now, what I think a lot of people wonder is, how do you avoid the white specks on the side? Because that's the biggest problem with all over. I mean, we don't like to see that. So what's your solution, Rob?
Yeah, so for this particular product, this is actually a blank product we developed a number of years ago to lay flat in a heat press just like this in order to avoid having the creases in the armpit and on the side seams. So it's something we worked on for a number of years to really hone the craft of all over print. And to our knowledge, there's really no other blanks that you can achieve this level of all over print without having some setback in the voids in the armpits.
What you're really saying is, if I took a normal shirt and I just laid it on here, I'm gonna get little ruffles. Like, it's so hard to get perfectly flat, versus you had this essentially manufactured to print better for on all over printing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is a purpose-built product specifically for this application. If I went down and threw a Hanes tee on this press, you're gonna get a bunch of bunching in the collars, you know, the cuffs of the arms, in the hemline, in the armpits. It's gonna wrinkle up, and then you're gonna have a lot of dropout. So within the design, you're gonna see white voids and streaks.
And I'll tell you that the print, there's no hand. I mean, there's just nothing there. It is dye sub. It's never gonna fade on me, right, Rob?
100%, yep. Endless wash cycles. The fabric will deteriorate and fall apart before the print actually comes out of the fabric. Zach, one cool thing you can display is, you know, with the all over print, we have to do the design on the front and the back, but sometimes people just want it on the front, and you can go ahead and flip that shirt around. And so here's what we're showing is that the back is completely unsublimated still, so we still have a whole other canvas that we could print on, or we could leave it as is.
And the big difference between cut and sew versus all, I mean, there's several differences, but your print is gonna start here, go all the way over. Yep. This is a lot easier to design online. I mean, on DecoNetwork's design tool, we can put a photo of a shirt, somebody can drop their artwork, and it starts on one sleeve, goes all the way to the other. They're gonna get a perfect visualization of what this essentially is gonna look like. And again, they can do the front and the back, versus Rob's wearing a polo right now, and if you see it, this sleeve is different than these. So he has a panel that is cut and sewn to all come together. So if you need something more custom, you gotta go with the all over or the cut and sew, versus this allows us to do the all over. And we're gonna do the back now.
This isn't for everyone, just like cut and sew isn't for everyone. Different price points, different applications, different lead times. You know, this really shines in a lot of areas, but also falters in others. You know, we're kind of limited to tees. I'm never gonna be able to do an all over print hoodie. There's just too many complexity pieces in an all over print hoodie.
But t-shirts are what dominate the market anyway.
T-shirt is a bulk of your market.
You don't have to do everything. Everything isn't the solution. And Rob, like, because American Print on Demand does a lot of contract fulfillment. So if somebody wanted an all over shirt, just like the one we're seeing, and they want it printed on both the front and the back, and they don't want to buy this setup, and they don't want to get the dye sublimation printer, what does one of these shirts run for this all over on both sides?
Yeah, so you know, we've seen retail online for these shirts anywhere all the way up to $40 in full retail setting, and typically, you know, a one-off type production costs on these are going to be sub $20.
Wow!
So it's a great bang for your buck when you're really getting a you know, high-quality product, both front and back design.
It didn't get me that time.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Okay.
I like to go into a shop and act like I own it. Oh, that's hot. Again, it was pressed at 400 degrees for a minute, but look how quickly you made a one-of-one product from complete scratch. I mean, we went from printing the transfer to printing a one-of-one product in less than, what, 10, 15 minutes? Really cool process. Again, you should never think about all over versus cut and sew, one being a lot better than the other. They each have a time and the place, and they also both have a little bit of a different price break, because we're not manufacturing here, other than, by the way, this is the Super Sublimation tee, because Rob's last name is Super. So we made a Super Sublimation product And that is really cool stuff, Rob. And what I really wanted to show, look at that. The lack of white right there. That's what people don't like about all over sublimation, is when we see that. And as Rob said, the solution wasn't to create a special jig, because that's not going to solve a shirt problem. It was to actually make a better shirt. And you know, if you had a jig, you'd have it for every size, and it'd just go on and on.
Right.
But that is a really cool product, Rob. Well, thanks for your time. If you have any questions, check out AmericanPrintOnDemand.com, where Rob can give you more information about his on-demand sublimation all over and cut and sew services. Thanks, Rob.
Yep, thanks a lot.